I want to unpack this for a couple of different teams, but when you pull that list up, Clemson is just chilling there at number 1 after just winning the ACC and giving Texas a pretty good fight in the second half of that game and seeing Cade Klubnik do what he did. And I keep going back to this. When we talk about Clemson in the context of competing for a national championship next year, I don't get why that's not being said out loud more frequently. Now, some of that could be it's March, so if that's your reason, I mean, no fault there. But it really does feel a lot like I've kind of got like the wrong address to a party. Those are kind of the vibes. Nobody else is really here. We're just sitting here saying, hey, Clemson can win the whole darn thing, and we're just hanging out like, yeah, but Alabama's got better odds. I think Tennessee's got better odds. Not to dunk on either of those schools, but with Clemson having the number 1 returning production in all of college football next season, y'all, Dabo's doing it right now. And it's not something we thought we would say 3 years ago, but Dabo is doing a lot of the things that we had asked Clemson and asked Dabo to do to go compete for national championships. And a lot of the pushback around Dabo Swinney, if you don't think he's the best coach in the sport, we're not saying he's the best coach in the sport, but if you don't think that he is still one of the top coaches in the sport, a lot of that opinion is tied to his failure to adapt to the transfer portal. And they've dipped their toe in it. They're not wholesale jumping into the portal all the way, but they've dipped their toe in it. The thing for me, though, is the reason why they are number 1 in returning production in some small part is because they don't go to the portal. Like, if you're loyal to your roster is able to be loyal back to you. I don't think, and I can't prove this, but I don't think Clemson's having a lot of conversations with their guys after the season, the exit meetings, and saying, hey, thanks so much for all you've done. We're actually going to bring someone in to replace you via the portal. Hey, you don't have a spot here next year. We'd love to help you, but you don't have a spot here next year. It's not the case. Why? Because Clemson doesn't really use the portal all that frequently. Use it in some small fashion here, given this past cycle, but that allows you to have the number 1 returning production. That promotes a feeling of, again, loyalty. It promotes an environment of growth, all those things. And so to have the roster they had last year, that, again, was good enough to go win the ACC and get you into the college football playoff, I think Clemson is massively dangerous. And the other thing I'll add here, when you talk about Clemson the last couple of seasons, I've been critical of them because I didn't think they had the dudes. Like those Clemson teams the last couple of seasons haven't been at the same talent level in my estimation of what was showing up in the college football playoff when they had that 6-year run, when they were winning national titles. I don't know if they have it to the same degree, but I think they're in that same threshold. I think they're in that same tier to compete for national championships. Because you think about those Clemson teams, what did they have? A proven commodity at quarterback. Okay, Cade Klubnik. I'll go ahead and check that box. If you need to see more, be my guest. What he did against Texas, to me, is more than enough. Got it. Okay, we need to see a temperature on defense that is aggressive, the enforcers, all those things. Y'all, I don't know if you got Christian Wilkins walking out of the tunnel anytime soon to play defensive line for you, but you brought in a guy in Tom Allen who ran one of the best, most aggressive defenses in college football last season at Penn State. Game away from playing for the national championship, a field goal away from playing for a national championship. Okay, I think that probably checks that box. Had a top 15 sack rate in the country. Okay, got it. They had weapons, which was the big thing. We harped on that for a long time. Clemson, I don't care if you go to the portal or not, why don't you have dudes that strike fear in the heart of your secondary every single Saturday? I got 3 dudes. Antonio Williams, who's back for more, Bryant Wesco, and TJ Moore. Both dudes that were freshmen a season ago. Top 3 weapons, all back. So will they do it? I mean, I have no clue. We're going to have to see this whole thing play out. I want to get a better gauge for what happens out of fall camp. But the overall talent level at Clemson is good enough. They bring back a ton around them. The culture is going to be the culture at Clemson consistently with Dabo Swinney. There should be national title expectations at Clemson. And there always should have been because that was the level you had achieved at for a long time. But with this roster, with this quarterback, with this staff, I love everything about Clemson. And so for them to be number 1 returning production is just even more fuel to that fire. I do not get why it's so quiet on the Clemson front. Maybe it's a brand thing. Maybe it's a conference thing. I don't know. But for Clemson, they are a national title contender this season. And it's not really even for me up for debate when you talk about the Tigers. So number 1, yeah, that's encouraging.